Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining our session. Patrick O'Gorman, my teammate, is our presenter today, and this session is all about the Copilot Studio basics. We aim to provide a digital event that respects all individuals, so we ask that everyone assist in providing a welcoming and safe environment. We provide 3 of these events to our customers every month, with each taking place on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If there is a topic that you would like to hear about in the future, please post that in the chat now for consideration. We'll also have a feedback form available at the end where you can share different ideas and thoughts about the series. To minimize distractions or potential background noise today, we are going to leverage the chat for questions. Please post your questions there. Anytime during today's session, we have myself and Joe and a team of people ready to get those answered for you. We'll also open up mics and video at the end for live Q&A. Additionally, we do send follow-ups via email. These follow-ups will contain the recording and the deck used by our presenters today. If you don't want to be included in the follow-ups in the future, no worries, simply reply to that email and we will take you off of our distribution list. With that, Patrick, thank you very much for presenting on this popular and important topic today and helping our customers get the most out of their investment in Microsoft Business Solutions. So whenever you're ready, take it away, my friend.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kelly, and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. This is an extremely popular topic lately. I tell, I work with a few different sellers, and I'd say we demo this and talk about this more than anything else at this point. With that said, my name is Patrick O'Gorman. I'm a technical specialist. I work primarily in the Northeast region, but also in the Carolinas. I've been with Microsoft for a little over 3 years, but prior to that, I've been with a few different consulting companies, mostly doing Power Platform since it's been around, Dynamics 17, 18 years prior to that. And then right out of school, I love being a .NET developer, and that helps me these days when I want to extend the platform, build some more advanced concepts and functionality rather on top of the platform. Yeah, and I'm based in New Braunfels, Texas. Most people don't know where that is, but if you know where it is, give us a shout out in the chat, because you will only be the fourth, and however many people know where it is beyond the fourth, because I've literally had 3 customers in my 3 years at Microsoft who know where New Braunfels is. So about an hour south of Austin. So today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Copilot Studio. This is very much a level 100 to 200 presentation and demo. We're going to go through a handful of slides first, cover some of the high level topics and functionality, and then we'll jump into a live demo and see a little bit more about what Copilot can do. If you've never heard of Contoso before, Contoso is a 100% fictional company that Microsoft came up with many, many years ago. It's almost as popular, I guess, as the Northwind database, and I'm really dating myself talking about the Northwind database, but it goes back a long time. We've got websites built for it. We've got data out there for it. So if you're ever trying to build a use case, just want to start playing around and you're really not sure, what you want to tap into as far as knowledge, as far as data, check out Contoso. We've got a lot of good information out there. So let's get started on that. All right, so what is Copilot Studio? I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but if you've been working on our platform for a while, Copilot Studio was previously Power Virtual Agents. And so I love that it was called agents then, but people were still calling them chatbots. And now at least around Microsoft and many of my customers, we're trying to get into the habit of using the word agent versus chatbot. And the primary reason why is just that agents can do so much more than chatbots. Whereas chatbots were really good at digging into your data, responding to, fairly static topics, which, if that doesn't make sense, we'll take a look at exactly what those are here in a little bit. Chatbots did a really good job of communicating, but they weren't so great at doing things, submitting a ticket to a ServiceNow instance, or sending an email on your behalf, or responding to an email on your behalf, etc. So Copilot Studio is our low-code tool for being able to build those intelligent agents. You can use it to extend existing Copilots that you might already be using out of the box, some of our different Microsoft Copilots. But you can also build your custom agents with Copilot Studio, ground those agents in your own knowledge, have them perform actions, functionality that are specific to your environments, to the way you do, the way you do business, etc. So. And so why agents? And we kind of touched on this here, but this was actually an exercise, excuse me, that I've been through with a few of my customers. And we say, why agents? Well, agents are great for connecting AI to business processes. We talked, 3 or 4 years ago, the big theme was how do we modernize? How do we rationalize? What do we need to do to get these apps to the next level? And today, of course, it's agents. And how do we build and leverage agents to make to make the things we do every day, day in and day out, more efficient? And so connecting AI business processes is key. And we can do things like automatic payment reminders, tax return document analysis, budget planning, and of course, onboarding and training. We get a lot of requests for those four really types of functionality, especially onboarding and training these days. But once you identify those and kind of silo those, like you see here, audit and compliance, technology and security operations, et cetera, it's much easier to identify a suite of agents that you might be able to build, or that you would consider building for your team. And then, of course, you can see in this case, we started out with this first one here, Rev. This guy can do quite a bit of things, including resolving complex cases and handling escalations. And I always love the Learn stuff, because Learn, we've all got knowledge bases. We all have internal, tribal type knowledge that we want to be able to share with our employees. We don't want to bog down an agent with all this other information and data. Let's just give it what it needs to teach people how to do their jobs. And so it's really easy. This is obviously just a small set of potential agents that you could build for your organization. But I wanted to really show this slide and give you an idea of how, just like in the past, we would logically group automations and apps, and we still do that today. But now we're going to start seeing that same sort of grouping, if you will, that logical grouping with our agents. And the great thing about our agents is that you get to start with data you already have. And so I mentioned Power Virtual Agents back in the day. This is one of the biggest advancements that we've seen since Power Virtual Agents is being able to use generative AI. So we can get things like your articles, your data from your dashboards, and really just any data from anywhere on your site, anywhere in your SharePoint document libraries, et cetera. So lots of different places that we'll see today that we can tap into to better to make your agents smarter, make your agents better able to help you on a day-to-day basis with other functionality, like we talked about earlier, sending emails, et cetera, all with knowledge you already have, with data you already have. So one of the most common things we see are just asking it questions based on your knowledge. And don't worry if you're not able to keep up with what's going on over here, but you can see over here on the right, I'm asking it these questions, and I've got these questions listed over here on the left, so if you can't read them as they're going through here, that's fine. But basically, and we'll see this here in a second, I've just provided this agent a single website and asked it a bunch of questions, and you can see it's answering those questions, giving us a ton of information on those questions. And that's really one of the biggest enhancements that we've seen over the last few years, is saying, hey, let's ground this agent in my knowledge. Let's ground it in our website. Let's ground it in our SharePoint document libraries. Let's ground it in our Dataverse data. We're going to see that as well. And let's just be able to ask it, questions about that stuff. And we'll dig into that in the live demo, but I just kind of wanted to show that how easy it is just to say, hey, here's a website. Use this website to answer these questions. So how do we create an agent? I'm going to pause for a question here in a second. I just want to get through this one next part, and we'll pause for questions here. So my favorite way to do it is to create agents using natural language. I don't want to confuse anybody, but surely you've heard about Copilots. You've heard about Copilot Studio. In this little video that you see running off to the right, and here in a second, it's not started yet, but you're actually going to see me using these instructions right here on the left-hand side to build my own Copilot. And here's what's so cool about that, and why one thing I kind of want you to take away from this. When I started out on the Power Platform, and I had customers asking me, Patrick, how do I build a Canvas app? How do I build a model-driven app? How do I build a Power Page? I would always tell them, go out to the Maker Studio, pick one of the templates that we've given you to start with, and just create an app from it. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is select that template and click Create. 5 seconds later, maybe 20 seconds later, you've got this app built, And then you can go into that app and start clicking on visual components and seeing what the Power Effects code looks like behind those, or maybe what the just any other configurations, properties, whatever those settings might be behind those visual elements. It's a great way to not have to worry about messing something up, but having something that's already there. It's a sound, app, so, component, whatever it might be, that you can start looking at, analyzing, and figuring out how to do things on your own. That's why I love Copilot. And this screen here, in this little video that's going here, I'm using Copilot right here. I'm plugging in, this prompt over here on the left, and I'm saying, hey, create this agent for me. And if you pay attention, this last one here, and it should use the following public website as a knowledge source. So I'm going to go ahead, again, that's the area we're focused on. And now you can see it's actually starting. A prompt is already pasted in there. Let's scroll through it there just for a second so you can make sure that it's all in there. And then you can see Copilot doing its thing. So again, not to confuse, but what we're seeing here is Copilot creating a custom agent for us in Copilot Studio without us having to do anything but give it that prompt. And so now you can see the agent toast is set up for us. I'm going to go ahead and just click the create button. And you'll actually see in this video, it's called Toast 1, but that's just because I already had an agent in there called Toast. So it did what it does with our Windows files or anything else. It just added a 1 to it. But you can see here, it took my description, it put it in here. It took my general instructions and put those in here. Excuse me, in here. And here in a second, and it always takes just a little bit of time to finish kind of building itself out. There are some of my topics. And then there's my knowledge source. And if you look there at that knowledge source, that's exactly what I asked it to use in the prompt. Now over here on the right, you can see we're starting to ask it questions. And I just want to show how easy that was for any of your users to go in there and plug in a very simple prompt and get started with Copilot Studio. Once that's built, you can obviously go in and tweak it. You can add knowledge sources, you can add topics, you can add tools, and we'll talk about all that stuff here in a minute. Some of the, obviously at at Microsoft, we're changing things all the time. So this interface may not be exactly what we see in the live demo, but it'll be very close. And just keep in mind, everything I did today, I did in commercial, but I did it knowing that a lot of you are in GCC, and there's only 1 or 2 things that aren't quite ready yet in GCC, and I'll make sure to point those out as we go through these slides. So any questions before we move on to a few more screens here on how to build your agents?
Patrick, there's a few questions that we're just answering in the chat right now. One of them, which came through, and I'll just put it out there, says, I'd love guidance on when to build an agent builder in Copilot versus when to build in Copilot Studio instead. Don't know if you're going to kind of hit on that today, but there's been a few chats in there, but it might be good to just kind of touch on that.
Yeah, I would welcome anyone from my team that has more experience in Copilot itself than I do to touch on that. But we can certainly, maybe at the end of the call when we do some more Q&A, hopefully someone would be able to touch on that or put it in the chat. I don't work with Copilot that often. I've really just started getting into extending agents in Copilot using the SDK. But I can assure you that if that's something everyone's interested in, we can absolutely come back and do something a little more advanced where we show how to do some of that stuff. Declarative agents versus, agents in Copilot Studio, extending agents from Copilot, et cetera. Let's maybe revisit that at the end, Kelly, and see if anyone on the call's got a better answer than that or can actually speak to that.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you. All right. So we'll move on here. And okay, so I want to walk through some of the screens, and we'll obviously look at these live as well. But people get sick of me saying it. I say it every time. Everything on the Power Platform has a homepage. We've got a homepage for the Maker Studio for Power Apps, Power Automates, and obviously no different, Copilot Studio. At the top here, we just saw it. That's Copilot sitting on top of Copilot Studio, ready to take your commands to build, whatever you'd like it to build with Copilot Studio. We've got a set of recent Copilot Studio agents that you might have used, recently, obviously. And then down below, we've got a set of templates. You don't want to use Copilot to create your first agent. You can always go down, like I was talking about with apps and automations, and use one of those agent templates down there to get yourself going. Moving over to the first tab is our overview tab. I have now opened, just so we're on the same page, I'm going to hop back really quick. Whoops. Yep, there it is. I'm going to open this agent here, TOS, the agent we've been talking about, and I'm going to go to the overview tab. That overview tab, just like I said a second ago, everything has its homepage, and this is the homepage for TOS, our Contoso agent. And you can see there at the top, we've got the details, we've got the description. TOS is a friendly agent designed to answer questions. And then the instructions. Instructions are important, and instructions are important no matter what kind of AI technology necessarily you're using, whether you're using ChatGPT in their web browser, whether you're using our Copilot and M365 Copilot, or even in the web browser. Maybe you might be using some advanced agents in Azure Foundry. Instructions are important, and one of the things I like to do just to show why instructions are so important, or rather how they can be interpreted by your agent, is just something silly. At the end of every answer, TOS should shout out its name, TOS, and add a smiley face. And you can see down there, he sure does. And so just a way to let you know, you can use different things in your instructions. You can see instructions. Sometimes your instructions might be a page long because you want certain things to happen. A colleague and I are working on a side project where we have in the instructions, return anytime you're returning data to us or information or response back to us, please format it in perfect HTML. Don't give us the HTML tags. Start with the body tags. And that way, we can literally throw that into a div element on our web page, and it renders perfectly, and we don't have to do any more work for it. So instructions are super important. Orchestration, we're not going to talk too much about that today, but I am going to post this in the chat, a link to orchestration so you can learn more about it. Orchestration is not just about agent to agent. You probably heard about that a little bit. That's still kind of up and coming type stuff, but also figuring out based on your prompts what topic it should run, what knowledge source it should go to. So there's a lot involved there behind the scenes with orchestration. And like I said, check out that link I just put in the chat, and hopefully that'll be helpful. Oops, let me get my focus back to my presentation here. We have the analytics section, kind of a new agent, not a lot in the analytics section yet. And I know analytics are not quite as far along as they are in commercial. They are getting much better in GCC, but analytics are a lot of people, how do I download my chat history? How do I see, what responses were successful? How do I see escalations, et cetera? There's a lot of great information, not only in Copilot Studio, but also in your Power Platform Admin Center. We talked about topics. Topics are one of the more popular things we'll deal with Copilot Studio. Topics have come a long way, and that's one of the main things we used to have. Period. And now we have so much more. But topics are really powerful. I don't see them going anywhere anytime soon. And I'll show you a couple different ways you can use topics, because they're probably going to be one of the more popular things that you're using. All right. So knowledge tab, we've hopped over now. We've gone, if you didn't see that, we've gone from the overview to the knowledge tab. And you can see here, the only thing in this knowledge tab we have, because that's all we told Copilot to put in there for us, was that learn article. And so that learn article actually goes out, knows how to query Contoso, information on Contoso, and pull that back for us. We can add additional knowledge, and I'm going to pull that up. If you click that add additional knowledge button, this dialog comes up, and you can see here, we have the ability to upload files directly to Copilot Studio, and we have a bunch of other connectors down here that enable us to use things like SharePoint. We can tap into our Dataverse data. ServiceNow and Azure AI Search, they're not fully baked into GCC yet. I know you probably see them in your interface. There's still some quirks with them. One thing I will point out, you do not have, in GCC, you do not have the ability to upload files directly from OneDrive or SharePoint. You can absolutely reference your agent in SharePoint document library, the entire document library. But if you wanted to specify a single file, oops, did we lose you? Hey, am I back?
I got
all right,
you, Patrick.
Sorry, I must have dropped there for a second. So if you do want to get files, let me switch back my focus again. There we go. So if you do want to get files from SharePoint in GCC into your Copilot Studio, just one file at a time, you're going to need to download those and actually upload them to your Copilot Studio agent. Otherwise, you can upload them from your file system. Like I said, you can point directly to a SharePoint document library. And channels. This is the last one I really wanted to cover as far as the tabs across the top before we get into topics. Channels are the places that we can deploy our Copilot Studio agents. And just so in case everyone's wondering, because everyone sees this probably one risk here at the top, this is just saying, hey, if we were to actually expand this, I should have probably done that for the screenshot, but it's just saying, hey, you've got authentication turned off. And I had authentication turned off when I took the screenshot because I was deploying it to a public website. I've remodeled it a little bit so that we can deploy it to Teams and Microsoft Copilot itself. And so it's no longer going to give us that warning, but just in case you're wondering. But, you can see here some of the more popular places, SharePoint, obviously, Teams and Copilot, a web app, custom web app. And you can look through these, a demo website. So we give you a demo website, ASP.NET website, that will, without you doing anything, load up with your agent deployed to it so that you can start interacting with it to see how does it behave, how does it look, what tweaks can I make, etc. So it's a really handy tool that we give you. And then, of course, at the bottom, you've got some different customer engagement hub applications that we can deploy to, like ServiceNow is a big one. Obviously Salesforce as well. So, all right. Should have been highlighting those. Sorry, my clicker went out on me though. So topics. This is one that I really love to talk about. And there we go. It's back. Okay. So I like topics so much because they're so powerful to do everything they used to do and everything they can do now. And so topics, what they used to do was stuff that was really simple like this. This tool can handle queries like good afternoon, good morning, hello, hey. And behind the scenes, if you were to open up the YAML code view, you would see something like this, trigger queries. And those trigger queries, they weren't finite in the sense that it couldn't figure out, if you said hola or something like that, it would absolutely be able to figure that out and realize that you were talking about this specific greeting topic. But you can imagine over time, you may have to come up with quite a few trigger queries that, just to kind of cover all your bases. Well, moving forward, sorry, let me talk about this really quick. This is kind of how that static topic, if you will, looks in action. And so, you got something like Contoso, contact Contoso, and I put static there just so you know what we're talking about. And then over here we say, hey, how do I contact Contoso? So the conversation starts, and then we have the static topic realizes what we want to talk about, how we want to respond. And then we basically say, hey, Contoso is this fictitious company, but if you absolutely must contact them, please call Microsoft and ask for Bill. And then we just say thank you. That's great. It's always going to give us the same answer. And sometimes, especially in regulatory industries where verbiage has to be exact, that's exactly what you want. You don't want it making up something, summarizing something, and giving you its own bullet points, etc. You want it to be some static text. So moving on, you see we've got what's called conversational boosting. And so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to disable that static topic right there. And I'm going to ask it the same question. Hey, Toast, how do I contact Contoso? It's going to fall back onto my conversational boosting. My conversational boosting knows that it's got to reach out to some of that knowledge that this agent is grounded in. Goes out to our website, it finds the information it needs, and it provides that back here to contact Contoso. You can do these things. If it doesn't find any information, it's going to go back to your fallback node. And in that fallback node, you can, kind of handle it however you want. The last thing I wanted to show on topics, and then I promise I'll pause for questions, is this. So static versus generative topics. We just showed that in those two last slides that we looked at, but this one I hope kind of brings it all home for you before we switch over to a live demo. So here it says, using information from our Learn site, this prompt up here, Using information from our Learn site, how do I contact Contoso's corporate headquarters? Please include any numbers, addresses, information, etc. I specifically ask it to use my Learn site. I don't want it to go out and find it from anywhere else. Well, let's see how that behaves. Using info from our Learn site, how do I contact Contoso's headquarters? Exact same, I'll pause it, but the exact same prompt that you saw up here in my slide. And it says Contoso is a fictitious company, but if you absolutely must contact them. Now, I don't know about you, but it sure looks a lot like my static topic answered the question. All right, well, let's try that again. Let's turn off that static topic. Play this again. Let's turn off that static topic. I'm going over to topics. And I'm going to take that Contoso and I'm going to disable it. You can see I've disabled it. And I'm going to ask that question again. Using info from our Learn site, how do I contact Contoso? And this time, you can see it gives me a completely different answer. And so let's look at what I put into that topic that made it do that. Over here in that topic, the one that I just disabled, this topic will answer questions about how to contact Contoso. Do not use any information from any knowledge sources. Only respond with the message in this topic. Do not use information from our Learn site, even if the user asks you for it. That's why instructions are so important, because no matter what, somebody's going to try to circumvent use some prompts that might circumvent exactly what information you're trying to give them. Obviously, if they don't have permissions to certain data, they're not going to be able to get to it anyway. But in a situation like this, you want your people to get a certain set of information every single time. You want it to be consistent. And that's where something like this comes in really handy. So we're going to hop over to a demo now and see what else our agent can do. But before we do, are there any questions?
Hey, Patrick, I'm going to jump in here quickly. There's been a myriad of questions, a lot of great stuff, but there's one common one that I wanted to clarify because we have some new customers joining us from the education group, right? So we've been adding to the family. This was originally, just state and local government, but we've merged and now we have education folks here too. So thanks for joining. And that helps explain why we've had some GCC questions. So typically, we work in GCC, which is the government community cloud. That is the most popular cloud that state and local government customers have their Microsoft tenant in. If you're in education, you might be in commercial or some other cloud. So because of that, there's usually some feature considerations in terms of what's available, what's not available. We really, really work hard to try and clarify what is and is not available when we do these sessions. We also try and work really, really hard with the product group to make it as clear as possible what is currently available, what's on the roadmap. It's a bit of an art rather than a science given the rate at which they innovate, right? There's so many new things that come out. It's always, we're one step behind, but I promise we try our best. We do have a feature parity document that stays live that I'll share that link in the chat, which is really our best sort of one size fits all, one place to get all of your information on those sorts of things. So I'll put that in the chat, but I just wanted to clarify those couple of things.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So as you see, we've now switched over to our Copilot Studio Maker Studio. Doesn't sound redundant, but that's what it is, I guess. And you can see here, as I've mentioned, let me go back to my home page here. This is my home page for Copilot Studio. I mentioned there's a home page for everything. You can see down here, I've got some recent agents that I've been working on. We're going to open Toast. Toast is a good guy. We're going to check out how he's built and see what else he can do besides what we saw on those slides. So you can see here again, description, orchestration, response model that it's using, etc. There's some instructions down here. You can see I've added a few things for knowledge. So I've added our Dataverse contact table. We're going to ask it a question or two about our contact data. I've added this Contoso employee handbook, and just so you can see what that looks like, I have that ready to show you. Contoso employee handbook. I had Copilot generate this for me, so it's very short, very simple, but it gives us some information that you might have guessed. We want it to be very specific using topics. And then, of course, that Learn website that you already saw in action. And so with that said, we can actually click on the knowledge tab here. You'll see all those same things here. Status of ready. Sometimes if you upload a bigger PDF like this one here, it might take a few minutes to get going, but it'll stay in progress until it's ready. We're not going to cover tools too much today, but just like everything else here, I try to have a link for you. So I am pasting a link for tools in the chat if you'd like to dig into those a little bit more. And then agents aren't in GCC yet, so I completely skipped over those. But then we'll look at our topics. And there's a few extra topics that I wanted to show. And I had a problem expanding this column last time too, so I guess I'm going to try. But you can see here the contact Contoso static topic that we talked about. I've also got a Dataverse contacts information topic. I've got a provide code of conduct topic. And I've got to submit a ServiceNow ticket topic. And we'll dive into those in a second. But what I wanted to do first is, since we're in this environment now, I wanted to just ask it a few questions. So we're going to get right out of the gate here with, where are our corporate headquarters? Oh, wait a second. Contoso's a fictitious company? Okay, well, you know what we need to do, right? We need to come into our topics, right? So remember this one, Contoso is a fictitious company, but if you absolutely must contact them, please call Bill. And so we'll come into our topics. I'm going to say, you know what, that's not satisfactory. We're going to disable this topic. And we're going to try that again. Where are our corporate headquarters? And now you can see it's reviewing more sources. And it's thinking. There we go. The Contoso Corporation headquarters located in Paris, France, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, that's great. That's better. How many employees work at our headquarters? Obviously, it just told us, but I didn't catch that as I was writing my next prompt, so we'll just let it roll. Looks like 25,000. And then remember my instructions, toast with a smiley face. And finally, who works our satellite offices? No, I don't. That's nope. Use our website. Let's see if it'll pick it up on that. If not, we'll just let it know that it got confused and we'll move on. There we go. See, it doesn't always get it the first time, and like I tell my customers, prompts are important. So is context, and sometimes you just, especially working in the test environment here, you just have to give it a little reset to if you want to start a new train of thought. I would rather just prompt it and say, no, you're wrong. Use our website instead, because clearly it didn't use the information source I wanted it to use. All right, so we talked about the code of conduct. Obviously, you don't want the code of conduct coming back as something other than the exact text that's in that code of conduct. So let's ask it, what's our code of conduct? Employees are expected to maintain the higher standards of professional behavior, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It gives me this link, which is the citation. And if we pull this up, we can see that the code of conduct does in fact say exactly. So let me just do it this way, it'll be easier, sorry. Right there. So you can see what the code of conduct is there. Employees are expected to maintain the highest standards. It's exactly what they gave us in the chatbot, in the agent, sorry. So let's hop over to topics and let's look at our code of conduct, provide code of conduct. If I open this up, you can see, and when I say, it says describe what this topic does. Oops, there we go. Move this around a little bit. Close this. This tool can handle queries like these: code of conduct, show me the code of conduct, what is your code of conduct, etc. And then if it realizes that that's the prompt that I'm giving it, I'm going to say provide the exact text from the code of conduct. Basically provide the exact text from the code of conduct section. I don't want you to pull anything else. I want you to use the exact text. And that's exactly what it did. So If I go back though, just like we did with the other one, and I turn that off, I can ask the same question again. And I bet we'll get a slightly different response, probably more of a summary, maybe some bullets. Give it one more second here. It should be good. And there you go. So you can see it still pulled that information from the Contoso employee handbook that we've given it, but it's expounded on that quite a bit. It's kind of made its own interpretations and provided you this summary versus just the exact text because it didn't hit that topic. It used generative AI. It used the knowledge it was grounded in, and it produced that result. So that's really what I wanted to cover with topics. Topics are extremely important. They're very good at handling things like, making sure you get the consistent, exact response every time. They're also really good at handling things like reaching out to other systems. We have tools as well now. You can also do it in topics. And so the next thing we're going to look at, let me pause really quick. Any questions on topics in general? You'll probably use topics a lot, and of course, you ever need any assistance with that, please let us know.
One sec there,
Tools,
Patrick. We did just get a hand raised.
sure.
And right now our microphones are turned off. So Patricia, I'm not sure if you are able to put your question in the chat for now. Otherwise, we will have a moment at the end of the presentation where we'll open up mics and video. So Patrick, maybe if you want to continue, and if I see her question, how are topics different from instructions? I think that's from Patricia.
And the unverified. So great question. And instructions are going to be general instructions on how your agent should behave. Things like we mentioned earlier, and we can even look at these are very short instructions. Should answer questions in a friendly manner, only using knowledge sources that's been provided. We could also include in the instructions every response should be in HTML format. Kind of mentioned that earlier. But instructions are going to be where you give it all of the general instructions that are going to apply to every single request it gets. A topic is going to hone down on a specific request. It's not going to cover all of your requests. So that when we look at our list of topics here, you can see we've got 8 custom ones. I don't know why that doesn't let me expand that column, and 9 system ones. So we've got things like conversation start. You look at conversation start, it talks about hello. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to open that up. Hello, I'm Botname, your Contoso corporate virtual agent. This is one little topic, one specific topic. It knows exactly how to handle the kickoff of the conversation. Just like when you look at these other topics, handles the goodbye, handles a specific greeting, providing code of conduct. They're very kind of targeted pieces of functionality, if you will, versus overall instructions for the agent as, for everything it does. Does that help? And if any one of my colleagues, Kelly, you included, has a better explanation, please jump in. But that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I mean, I kind of liken topics to almost sort of like your classic chatbot functionality. When you want to control exactly where the conversation goes, exactly how the agent responds with static information, the example I always use is, if Coca-Cola were to put a chatbot on their website and somebody went there and said, hey, what's the best soda in the world? They probably don't want to leave that answer up to generative AI, because if it said Pepsi, we'd all be reading about it in the paper, right? So you would use a topic for a question like that. That's kind of how I compare the two.
Great example. Thank you. And to the next question about how do I tell it where to go exactly? I don't know, and please anyone correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you can give it an exact page number, but you can definitely give it a specific document. Let's say you have 10 documents loaded in there, and you get a specific question asked. You can actually have that topic listening for that specific question. Well, let's look at one. Right, we just talked about provide code of conduct. So I hopefully this will kind of help illustrate it a little bit. But so it says this tool can handle queries like this code of conduct. Show me the code of conduct. What is your code of conduct, etc. And then if you look, my prompt then is going to be provide the exact text from the code of conduct section. And if I edit my data sources, This is what's called a generative answers node. It means that I can take any one of my data sources and specify exactly which one I wanted to use. So it's not going to be page specific, but it's not going to look at these other knowledge sources either. It's only going to look at that Contoso employee handbook. I hope that was helpful. And again, if you can go by specific page, someone please correct me, but I don't think you can. Good question on the models. So there's only, there's a limited amount of models, and I don't even want to say for sure because I'm not sure what's in GCC. What I would encourage you to do is also look at prompts, AI Builder prompts, and the different models you can use with those, because you can tap your Copilot Studio agent into those. And then if there's a model that you just don't have access to via AI Builder or Copilot Studio, check out Azure Foundry. And so this is a 100, 200 level course, so we're not going to get into it very much or at all. But we can tie our Copilot Studio agents into Azure Foundry deployments. And Azure Foundry is kind of like our Copilot Studio on steroids. It's got, I don't know about every model you can possibly think of, but it's got everything from Grok to DeepSeek to O3 Mini, and all of those models are models that our team has meticulously gone over, made sure made sure they're safe, made sure they're ready, and then for our environments, and then they host them, within our Azure space, and with our guardrails in place. So if you're going to hey, I want to try out DeepSeek, I don't want my stuff going over to China, you don't have to worry about that. Do you want to use, O3 Mini because that's a really popular one for deeper research? You can absolutely do that as well. And if that's something you all want to see, that's certainly something, we can cover in these Copilot Studio series, presentation series. All right, so let me move on because I know we're getting short on time here, and I do have a few more things I want to go through. We talked briefly about tools. There are some pre-built tools out there that you can use. One of them is the weather forecast. So I've simply just added this tool to my agent because I want my users to be able to come in and say something like this: "Can you give me the forecast for New Braunfels, Texas today in imperial units?" And it says, there you go. The weather forecast for New Braunfels, Texas is as follows, and it gives that to me and then tells me his name's Tos again. And then we wanted to look at, oh, I know. I need to submit a ticket. What would you like your ticket to say? And I'm just going to simply say, these fine folks on the tech series would like all free developer accounts. And it says your ticket has been created with ticket number blah, 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 6. And so if I hop over here to my trusty ServiceNow developer environment and I refresh it, you can see that my Copilot Studio agent was very simply and very quickly, if you didn't notice, went out and created this new agent, this new incident in ServiceNow. These fine tech series attendees would like free developer accounts with incident 006. Click on that. We can open it up. We can see some other information. I didn't set any of these other parameters, but we certainly could have. But that's just another way that we can integrate with a third-party system. And then, of course, we talked about this very briefly, but I can do something like this. Hey, Tos, are you able to answer questions about our contacts? Got it. You want me to use our contacts data to provide you information based on the question. What's up? Want to give it a question? Do any of our contacts live in Texas? If so, can you provide me their names and email addresses in a bulleted list? And there again, remember I asked for the output to be in a specific format. And right there, contacts in Texas, it gives me a list of contacts, no email provided except for myself, which is accurate. And then, of course, it gives me a link to my contact data in my model-driven app. And I believe, I guess the last thing I would show is that if we wanted to do this again, because we did talk about this, and we'll open it up for questions. This is the last thing I'm going to run it, and I'm going to run it as we open it up for questions. We'll just let this kind of play here really quick. And Kelly, I know you got some wrap up stuff to do, but if I wanted to say, I need an agent named Tos that meets the following criteria. This is the same prompt you guys saw in my slides, but I can run that. And it's off to the races, and you'll see it. It does everything that we saw it do in that first video. So once again, using Copilot to create your Copilot Studio agent, just like you can do for your automations, Power Pages, help with those components while you're building them. You want to add something to your flow or something. So this agent's been set up. Okay, great. Well, let's just click create. I didn't see the capture the name. Let's hope that it captured the name. But while it's doing that, let's see. Yeah, that's weird. It didn't capture the name, but hopefully it captured the knowledge sources and we can at least ask it a question. But with that said, please, any questions, anything else that maybe I can show you? So that's good. It actually grabbed that learning. So let's just go ahead and ask it one question and then I'll stop talking, I promise. Yeah. So you saw, I should have never tried it. It's probably still getting set up a little. It didn't capture the name agent there or anything, but yeah, all good. I at least wanted to see how you could get that kicked off the ground. You know, you got your knowledge set up. Need to probably go in there and do a little tweaking. Give it, or maybe just give it a few more minutes to get indexed, etc. So yeah. Any questions? That's all I've got for today.
Great stuff, Patrick. Incredible session. I know you covered a bunch of things that people were curious about. So I'm going to stop the recording now. That way we